Ferdinand, I think this is going to be the last game of the series.
I'm feeling it too. It's when you're down 0-2, it's very tough to bring yourself mentally. Because, like, man, I got to outplay him 3 times.
Come on, Zenio.
You know, I think it's cool to have, like, all the statistics. Like, oh, if you win the first 2 games.
What's your chances of, like, closing it out?
Yeah,
what's your historical record?
I think it's most importantly, or more importantly, what am I trying to say?
More important.
It's more important to actually think of, if you're the better player, what's the chances of you winning the first 2 matches?
I'm always very fascinated by seeing someone's record after they lose the first game or second game. Because it's like, how do they deal with mental adversity when they realize, like, you know, the first game of the series always is like a big pace setter. Everyone says it sets the tempo of the match, how you're able to, you know, you're like, yeah, okay, I have a 1-game cushion. I can try something crazy game number 2. When you lose game number 1, you feel like, oh, man, all of a sudden I have to accelerate to game number 4 plan because, like, it could potentially be my second to last.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I lose 2 games. All of a sudden I can't really do what I planned for game number 3. That kind of stuff really comes into play. Andre, you've been a pro.
Yeah.
You still play at a very high level. What insight can you offer about that kind of mentality and psychology?
I think preparing for your first game when you're the underdog is probably the most important thing to do. You know, those studies are really hard to actually derive anything because you kind of have to be a little bit subjective when you do a study like that. I think what's more important to do is say, like, if there's clear favorites, what's the percentage that the underdog actually starts winning as soon as they win the first game? I think that's something more reasonable. Now, that's very subjective because you actually have to label who's the clear favorite, who's not. But, you know, in my opinion, when I'm the underdog, which I've been a lot in history.
Do you have a match specifically that you feel like you can reference?
Damaga me versus Damaga for the WG Tour Clan War Finals. Or semifinals, excuse me.
In Brood War?
In Brood War. It was Rock's Kiss versus, we were at the time Pandemic, but Team Light for all intents and purposes. And Damaga was the clear favorite. Like, it was a free win for him, basically. That's what a lot of people said. And at the time, all I did was prepared the first match. And I knew the map. It was Destination. I knew exactly what I wanted to accomplish. I knew exactly how I wanted the game to play out. I knew his style. I got people to actually mimic his style. And I crushed him. Like, absolutely crushed him. I actually killed his natural and just delayed the game. Didn't want to actually commit because he had lurkers and defilers at the time. And that's like an imbalanced composition. And I just played it till like 30 minutes in. And a lot of people would be like, oh, no, you kind of misplayed that because why should you actually be playing it that long? No, I just made sure I won that game. And then game 2, I just had such a huge momentum from game 1. I was able to really have the confidence to actually perform my absolute best. And I feel like preparing for the first match is probably one of the most important things you have to do if you're the underdog going into a best of whatever series.
It's tough to say who was the underdog at the beginning of the series because of how close everything's been, but now it's very clearly shown that Sen is still riding hot after his incredible performance at the BWC. Zenio needs to win. He has 0 outs left. He has to win. If he loses, his season is done, and it's yet again a good but not great finish for Zenio. He always wants something a little bit more, wants to prove something that he's not just a mid-level player, but he needs to launch himself into upper echelons to get his victory.
If we want to go into potentials, this isn't just the last game or the last big game of 2012. This is the last big game of his lifetime. We're supposed to die at the end of 2012. So talk about potentials. Zenio really needs to perform well.
How do you want to go out, man? Don't you want to go out?
Exactly. You want to go out with a... Well, I shouldn't say with a bang.
As soon as this, like, I can imagine so many people queuing up a ladder game on December 20th and just like, all right, I need to win one more. Don't want to have my match history on a loss.
So one day when the aliens or whatever come and they dig up all the artifacts and they dig up the servers, they'll know. Vampire 7748 went out with a bang.
That's right. Well, we can definitely reclone this guy. Take him back from the dead. He had good genes, good at Starcraft. I gotta play some ladder then, Andre, because my match history is not looking good.
My potential is not looking good.
I recently started focusing on one of my weakest races. So.
By the way, look at how aggressive Sen has been. No spine crawler, no Baneling.
This is how he played game number 1 too.
Yeah, and instead of going to lair, he's going mass roaches. And guess what? This is going to be very successful against Zenio, who has no indicator to know this is coming. A big Baneling Zergling attack coming in here. And this is enough Banelings to actually crush roaches.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It depends. Sen knows it's coming too with all of his overlords spotting, so he's splitting his roaches. Just isolate the Banelings. Don't let the Zerglings get surrounded either. It's a delicate balance because you don't want to allow either to happen in full force. Oh, Sen!
Oh, gosh.
Whoa, he does lose a lot of the roaches. But you know what? He stabilized with so much left over.
And what's so important is he kept the Zerglings alive. So when the dust is settled, it's Zerglings versus Zergling Roach. And Zergling Roach normally is going to win out in that position. Now it forces a ton of spine crawlers. Really, Sen can assert his advantage right here and obviously try to do a lot of aggression. The other thing he could do is just sit back, take a third base, go to lair, and just take the advantage in tech. There's so many things that he can do with this advantage, but it looks like he's just trying to push in.
Yeah, just going to use the roaches to absorb some of the Baneling hits. More Zerglings coming in. Sen does lose a lot of the roaches, in fact. Moved up the ramp and lost a lot more Zerglings. Zenio trading out very nicely, and as a result, Sen doesn't end up breaking at all. He had a pack of Zerglings also waiting at the natural. A little bit. I think he misrallied it, but at the same time, he could have also recalled it to be safe back at home. Considering that there are roaches out into the field for Sen, he does want to protect it, moves back out, but you see he's attacking to lair while still still cranking out a couple more roaches of production. So overall, Sen's still trying to go for a balanced approach, but Zenio's been doing this very well.
I agree, Frodan, and Zenio taking map control or retaking map control is actually so very important. It really disables Sen from taking that third base. You can't take a third base on Cloud Kingdom without Galio Reconstitution, or both of you are playing very pacifistic. As it stands, I mean, Zenio is playing this absolutely phenomenally. He's actually taking his own third base, and this is the game to really set your mark and come back. I feel like Zenio, even though the beginning seemed a little bit rougher with that failed Zergling Baneling attempt, the counterattack really got shut down easily, and Zenio off of this is able to get upgrades. He is able to get the advantage with the lair with Galio Reconstitution, and with the third base. This is looking great for him.
Sen expanding a little bit later, getting everything just a slightly delayed, but he does have more roaches, way more roaches. So he does have security, although Zenio's been squeezing out more drones, so his economy is sitting in a very nice spot, and overall I feel like Zenio does have a nice, small, marginal advantage, just in terms of the development of everything he has. His macro is on point too. It's not like Zenio's been missing any injects, really.
Yeah. But as soon as Infestors come out into the field, Frodan, it doesn't really matter how many Zerglings Roaches you have, because fungal growth is going to pave the way for victory. I mean, really, if you attack into a position, fungal can just stop you in your tracks. You can see only 2 fungal growths needed to really lock all the units in place. On top of that, do immense amount of damage. So if aggression wants to exist, it has to exist. Right now, Sen is currently supply capped at 116, and it doesn't look like he's going to be alleviated anytime soon. No Overlords in queue, but both these players are going into base race mode.
Sort of. Zenio's actually recalling his roaches. So Sen wants to initiate base trades, but doesn't really... I mean, Zenio has to get into a good position, trying to flank with the Banelings as well. The Banelings do splash on some, and Zenio's going to lose a lot of roaches. Sen has an overwhelming majority, and Sen's been doing this also while his upgrades are inferior. He does manage to take care of the third base. Zenio also recalling his Zerglings. He wants to surround. Now is a good time, though, because the broodings that did come from the destroyed hatchery. Zenio trying to press in. Sen cancels his Banelings, realizing he needs just more DPS and tanking. Sen trying to press in here. Really wants to punch his ticket for the round of 16 playoffs, but Zenio has a lot of units left, Andre.
That's right, but more units are sort of trickling in over here. The third base of Sen has been retaken, so he's going to have an advantage over there. But can he actually dodge the rest of these roaches, as they were able to take off a couple here and there? You know, I really feel like Zenio could have won that last battle if he didn't engage with his roaches over here. You know you've segmented your own army by sending these Zerglings, denying the third base, and kind of don't have all your pieces together to actually hit with a solid punch. So it's really unfortunate. If he just backed up, he would have been able to crush Sen's army once the Zerglings met up with the roaches. And how it stands, both these players just trading out. At the end of the day, Zenio is actually going to be behind, even though the supplies show that he is ahead. The third base just being up for this amount of time. Let me see. It's 77 seconds to just about 27. So 50 seconds in an advantage. 50 seconds is just about 500 minerals if you can get that saturation up. But still, it does represent quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a larva cycle basically.
That's true too. Yeah.
So it might feel so minuscule, but that does help significantly managing your larva. That's assuming Zenio even has the queens out, because he's not making a queen either. So Zinjek might fall further behind based off that assumption. Sen will climb back eventually. I like the idea of getting burrow. Zenio will have a lot of utility on his roaches to just keep staying alive at the same time. Cloud Kingdom is a map where you can get a lot of counterattacks off. You can have roaches in the corners really waiting, attacking down the backdoor pass that leads to the third base. Can't be too cautious. There's no such thing as being too cautious on Cloud Kingdom by having overlords. That's why I like the spot Zenio has his overlord in by the third base. As well as Sen. You know, they both have those options open in case they see any opening.
And for now, let's look at the income tab. 66 to 48. Does that mean Sen is gearing up for a big all-in? I think so, Frodan.
Yeah, big roach swell.
He has +2, almost finished. Now, Infestors are out for Zenio, so that's going to help out quite a bit, but they need to be in position. Now he sees all the roaches amassing over on the left-hand side. That should swing all of Zenio's roaches over to the side as well. Zenio has a higher supply count with Infestors. He should be able to ward this off. And we're going to see that right now. How good is the splits?
How well will Zenio be able to protect two places at once? The roaches are coming in from the bottom. Zenio kind of has compromised the ramp. Look at the concave from Sen. But great fungals to lock down the roaches to make sure they don't get in. Sen kind of needs to scuttle a little bit further in. He does. Is the roach count enough for Sen to just raw power his way through?
How did Sen do this? I mean, he has the much better concave. Everything about his attack looked so much better, but when you look on paper, Infestors on the field, Zenio should be able to clear it up, and there it is. Okay, I was really confused there, Frodan. I was like, well, how the heck is Sen doing this? He's like Hyun, man. He's supernatural.
Yeah, I think. Well, I wasn't sure, like, because normally when you do those kinds of attacks, you also send roaches to like the natural and try to do some little run bys. Ooh, nice contaminate as well to try to reduce the effectiveness of larva spawn. Zenio might fall behind some cycles. He's already kind of down a couple of cycles because of it. Sen pushing in here without Zenio being able to support all of his roaches with any fungal growth, but Zenio does hold, and Sen not able to do really much here, and Zenio's running away with the game at this point. Wow, GG. Zenio's showing some life, and kind of levels up the series a little bit, 1-2, but still has a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, if you didn't notice, at the end of the game, I actually put the camera on. The third base, 5th and 6th gases were not taken. And when you actually give your opponent that much time, not only do they have the infestors that exist on the field, but all of that time where Sen is trying to get pathogen glands and then the infestor count, that's going to be probably a good 10 infestor difference. That's quite substantial, Frodan.
Well, I definitely agree with you that. Clutch, what did you think of that game?
Well, that concave was very, very crucial to maximize the damage. I mean, if we can go back and pause and show you guys, I would. But just the way that the roaches were set up for Sen as they moved in that circular format compared to Zenio's roaches, where he had about 8 or 9 behind his front lines that were not firing at all at Sen's roaches. When you have that sort of concave, you are dishing out more damage to your opponent, and therefore he was able to do as much damage as he did. That's really important, the kind of engagements and kind of positioning in any kind of matchups in StarCraft 2. So again, Sen playing very, very good strategy, textbook type plays, but in that moment, Zenio just had too much for him to handle, and there was a GG.
It felt similar to the Vibe game versus versus Targa, when Targa just had non-stop roaches, and Vibe just held with Roach and Fest.
Yeah.
It was really cool to watch. I think you were dead on with that question.
Yeah, Polt is another player, a Terran player, that executes so incredible to watch.
You're looking all hot and bothered, man.
Well, I mean,
when you're like,
whoa.
Okay.
It's like, whoa, man. But seriously, when you think they're not going to make it and they're able to pull off something like that, it just shows the type of level these players are at in StarCraft 2. It's really awesome to see.
Couldn't agree more with you, Clutch, honestly. That's going to wrap up game number 3, actually. So it's 2-1, still ahead for Sen. Guys, I want to stress this. We've stressed it all night long. Please, please, please pick up your pass for the NASL Season 4 Finals. You can use our promo code LABYTE to get a $20 discount. And you can do that at nasl.tv/p/season 4 or S4 Finals. But please do check it out. We're all going to be there. It's going to be a great time, and you know, it's going to be great players. What else is there?
It's going to be great food. LA Byte, I think, is delivering some food. Is that correct?
Great-looking people.
Yeah.
Great-looking people. Great-looking
fierce dog.
Fitness.
That's right.
We haven't been working out.
Live Fierce Fitness. Yeah. You know what? After filming Fierce Fitness, Frodan.
Yes, Andre, tell me. Please.
It's going to be really hard to do that live. It took me and Ben like a bottle of vodka and an hour just to finish that.
You mean a bottle for Ben, because you're not allowed to.
I'm not allowed to
Yeah,
drink.
okay. That's right. That's what I thought, Andre.
Yeah.
Well, it's 9 weeks of working out.
It's gonna be great, man. I've been training all my life for this moment, man. I think my mom would be so ashamed, but it's gonna be awesome. We also want to thank Blizzard for providing lots of support for the game, whether it's through the tournament coverage as well as just even making the game. They're trying to do what they can, and they've stepped it up recently. So hats off to Blizzard, especially for BWC. Guys, when we come back, game number 4 between Sen and Zenio. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.